Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Catching Up with Cope podcast. Cope is the Coalition of Parents in Esports, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that provides programs and scholarships to empower youth, parents, and educators to utilize gaming to build confidence, curiosity, community, and careers. I'm your host, Friday, and today I am here with Kate. Kate, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me,
Oh my
Fire. I
God, of
appreciate it.
course. Of course, of course, of course. So, just to start us off, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in the esports and gaming space.
Hi everyone. I'm Kate, otherwise known as Ohgawdkate. Specifically on Twitch. I've been streaming for about like 3-ish years or so, going on 4 in March. I started content creating and streaming like during the beginning of quarantine, which I think many other people can relate to. It was kind of like one thing that turned into another where I was just like, oh, let me just stream myself playing games. I didn't really know it would take off or not, but then it turned into something more. And I kind of found myself through streaming, through gaming, and connecting with people. And then slowly afterwards, I started making my community, I call them my sunshines, it started becoming more stronger. And wanted to kind of elevate and connect my in real life passions to my streaming and gaming life passion. So that's when I started making charity events. So in my personal life, I try to volunteer at least like once a week, and I also was like president of many like volunteering clubs, like in high school and in college. So it was definitely something that I really wanted to work on, where creating philanthropy through my gaming and career and stuff like that. And so then I figured out like, oh, I could host these like charity events where everybody comes to play like different various games, and we could also raise money for different causes. So that's kind of like the takeoff of like my intake in the esports field. So yeah.
Yes, no, that's awesome. I obviously I want to get into everything that you're doing in the space in terms of your events and being a TO. Going back a little bit,
Mhm.
how, because you said that like you were streaming your games and you didn't expect that sort of thing to like take off. So like, how, what has gaming been like in your life? Is that something that you've been doing since you were younger? Is that something you sort of like found as you got older? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I think gaming definitely happened at like an early age for me. My dad, he's a full-time gamer. Like he's honestly he's a straight up nerd. Back at home we have like our own like comic book store, so that's kind of where I got into the field of like playing games, like
Yes.
those little like niche nerdy hobbies. So he owns a comic book store. We sell like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Pokemon cards. We do like Magic of the Gathering, World of Warcraft. We sell like sports memorabilia, and there's like a little section where my dad would like resell like used like games and stuff. And so when I would be there, like hanging out with my dad for like 10-hour days, he'd be like, "Oh, Kate, go test out this game, see if it works for like 30 minutes. And then if it does work, then he's gonna buy it off the person who's selling it to him." So that was kind of like my niches into playing video games and just being around the space of like those hobbies of
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, like going against different people in like these
Yeah.
card games and stuff like that. So that was definitely like my world of gaming, and then like also like the anime aspect and stuff like that. So that's my dad. I owe it to him to get me in this space after all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so when you started your content creation journey, what, what was that like for you? At least I know like personally when I kind of toyed around with the idea of like content creation, it was like all of a sudden something that was like very personal and like on my own was suddenly something that I could share with other people. Like what was that like for you stepping into just like taking that gaming to content creation?
Yeah, so I definitely think getting into gaming and content creation was a huge step. One thing I think that really helped me in the process of like getting comfortable is because how much I am of like an extrovert, and how much
Mm,
I love talking to people, and I love connection. Like even in like
yes.
my in real life, I think connection is like one of my main like best aspects about myself. I'm very easily adaptable to many different personality types. And also, I'm very understanding about
Mhm.
how people are. Like, even if people are like introverts, I'll go out of my way to be like, hey, what do you think? Like, oh, do you want to play games and stuff? So, I'm definitely like one of the more outspoken individuals in terms of like making sure everybody feels included and more involved. But I started my streaming just I remember like it was like peak quarantine and I was like, I'm just gonna buy a laptop, like a gaming laptop. I remember I still have it. It's like this razor pink gaming laptop. And I was like, I don't know anything about streaming, but I'm gonna try it. It was terrible, but I still did it. It still managed. I had a GPU in it, it worked. It wasn't the greatest. And then I slowly started learning about, oh, like what hertz represent on a monitor. What like I can't just use my Apple headphones to like
Yeah.
talk. I need like an actual
Actual
mic,
mic.
you know? Yeah, and I started learning about like peripherals and all that. And my friends like had to teach me. Like I remember this like story where I literally downloaded Discord like when COVID happened. That was my first
Mhm.
time, and I thought the deafen button meant I was able to hear you guys. So and everybody was just like, no, like because you know how it's like the headphone button. I was like, oh, if I like turn it off or like cross it, that means oh I could listen to you guys.
You
And
know
I
what?
just remember like everybody was just like, what do you mean?
Honestly, like your intuition though about that button is
Yeah,
like
right.
I
It
I
makes sense,
I can't
right?
fault you for that because it actually make like looking at it like
Yeah, the
yeah.
headphones, right? Yeah, I was like, "Oh, why wouldn't I be able to hear you?" And I didn't know how to do all these things, but I was really blessed with, like, a wonderful, like, group of friends when I literally just joined, like, random Discord servers, hope
Mhm.
for the best. If they weren't, like, my type of people, on to
Yeah.
the next, like, that's kinda what I felt like about that time. Everybody was, like, chronically online, and I was just
Yeah.
like, I'll make my friends either way. And then I found like really amazing individuals. They definitely helped me take off like my streaming career. I think one thing that I really am grateful for is that I always had friends to play with. There
Mm.
was never a time where I really solo streamed or solo gamed. I kind of always had like a group of friends who I trusted to be well behaved individuals on camera with me, just playing with me. And I think that definitely helped me realize how much I valued connection
Mm.
into gaming. Because myself personally, I'm not really much of a competitive gamer. Yeah, sure, I love winning sometimes, but at the end of the day, like I'm just here to have fun. It's just pixels
Yeah.
on a screen. But like as cliche as it is, I really love spending time with my friends and that little memories of like, just doing silly, goofy stuff is what matters to me the most. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. I no, I love what you said about that because I mean I truly think that like it can be so hard because I'm also an extrovert, so I totally get you. It can be so
yeah.
hard sometimes for people to be able to like put themselves out there and like find a group of friends, but it's like when you do and you build those connections with people and it's
Mhm.
like people who you feel like the only like sometimes the times that I would stream, it was literally just because like my friends and I were having fun and I wanted to capture that memory just because I was like
Yes, yes,
I want to live in this
exactly.
moment and then go back and look at how
Yes.
much fun we were having. Do you know
A
what I'm
hundred
saying?
percent. Yes,
Like
I'm like a hoarder of memories. Like I have like 10,000 photos on my phone just because
me too.
I just
Me too.
love, yeah, I just love having those things. And I literally like streaming was just like a little like memory book.
Yeah.
I remember I bought like so many like hard drives and like SSDs just to save these VODs. And
Yeah.
then during quarantine, all we did was just stay on our computer. So these VODs were like 12 hours long and
I
that
love
took
it.
so much space, but I just wanted to keep it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's not a cheap investment when you want to keep all the
Yeah.
memories like that. Like that's like me just like backing up my phone. Like I have to
No,
I if I
literally.
kept all the photos that I have on my phone and not on like another drive, it's like
Yeah.
100,000. Like you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I totally get it. And I love what you said earlier about wanting people to feel included and like you being the person
Yeah.
to like reach out to them if they feel like, you know, they're more introverted and you want to bring them into the space. I think that that is so, you know, that's a beautiful thing. I think like the power of gaming and what that, you know what I'm saying? Like that connection that you can build with another
Yeah.
person just from like reaching out, being like, hey, do you want to play something? Like knowing that they
Yeah.
typically feel a bit more on the outside of this sort of thing. I think that's
Hmm.
beautiful. And something that else that I kind of wanted to talk about, with content creation is this idea of like entrepreneurship, because I think that
Hmm.
you were saying like I didn't realize that I had to like, at some point you realize like I need to get a mic, like
Yeah.
I need to invest.
Yeah.
You're investing
Yeah.
resources and you're investing your time into learning how to, I guess, like level up what it is you're already
Yeah.
doing. So like
Market
what
yourself and yeah.
exactly what has that been like for you? Because I mean we can also get into that when it comes to Ohgawdkate events, but like talking about like you as a content creator, like what's it been like
Yeah.
cultivating your own brand? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, so I definitely think like cultivating my own brand was honestly an incredible journey to like start with. Definitely full of challenges and definitely super filled with rewards. But as a streamer and content creator, it's really not just about playing games or making videos or other content online. It's for me like it always has been about creating a genuine connection with
Mm,
my audience, you know?
yeah.
I think one of the main things that really brings me into other people is how invested I am just in talking to them.
Mm,
There's some moments where, yeah, I'll play the game, but I think my community and myself have really made it a space where anyone could talk about their day, either good or bad days, and they feel safe enough to talk about it. And
mm-hmm.
I want someone or anyone who comes across me stream, I want them to know that there's always going to be someone there who will listen to them, because there's not many resources or not many people have the ability or like the resources to go to like a therapist or something like that.
Mm,
Me, like I'm not a licensed therapist at all, but I'm a good listener. I'm a good
yeah.
yapper. I could definitely like communicate with you and talk to you, give you advice, maybe. And I definitely think like I really want my brand. How I'm cultivating it is to represent authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
positivity, inclusivity, and they're all like super key pillars to me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think I started like making my brand more just of talking to people,
Yeah.
and I think I definitely do think not a lot of people have many people to talk to. I feel like, at least for me personally, I'm very grateful to have like very like a couple best friends in real life, and I think it's really funny because all my best friends in real life are all introverts, and I'm the extrovert that kind of like adopted them. So
Yeah.
when you brought that up, like how I really want them to be included, is because I literally see all these people who are in this space who are introverted, and I'm like these are like my best friends in real life,
Yeah.
and I know how it is to like think as an extrovert because they take they take meticulous time to come up with
Mm.
what they want to say to you versus extroverts kind of just blabble. We're squirrels, we just literally say what's on our mind, but
Yep.
then they take the time to actually listen to you and like give you like these like articulate words on how to respond to you, and that's something that I find so important, because I don't think like that, and I'm very grateful that I have people in my life that are able to talk to me and give me common sense.
Yeah.
And I always want to include people like that because they still have their own mind of their own, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And and I think that's really special to me because I see a lot of you guys and my best friends, and like, I made friends with other extroverts, but there's not many opportunities for these like introverts or like ambiverts to speak their mind because of how big the room actually is. And I
Mm.
think it's really special to just be like, hey, what are your thoughts? Because it makes them feel like and know that you value them. And I want people to know that I value them as a person, regardless of how outspoken they are, how loud they read the room and stuff like that. I want everybody to know in my stream to understand that you have a voice regardless of how big you are or like what you represent. And I also think it's very important that um like the space that we're in, um everybody knows that there's someone there that cares for you. I always tell my little like motto, I guess, is like, oh, brighter days are ahead, because it is true. You
Yeah.
never know how long it's gonna take, but you'll get there. I got there eventually. I'm still like not at the highest peak to be fully transparent, but
Yeah.
I know it's there, and I'm gonna always continue pushing forward to it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's like literally amazing. And I can already feel exactly like what you do with your streams. I feel in this conversation with like, that we're having right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing. And I I totally hear what you're saying when I was just thinking about this idea the other day that it's like when you have someone who, when you can mean something to someone, and it's like when you can be able just to voice something that you are feeling a certain day, just like literally just being able to like type it out
Yeah.
to someone and having someone being like, "Oh, I totally hear you," or like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
like I've
Exactly.
experienced that same third." Like it is so that feeling when someone can be like, "Yeah, I absolutely see you. Like I see you. Like I
Mhm.
hear what you're going
Yeah.
through." And it's like you're not trying to solve anyone's problems, right? But it's
Yeah.
like if there's advice you could give, if you can make people feel seen, like that feeling when you're on the receiving end of that and knowing what that's like is like it's just like the biggest, like I just think
It
of like
feels so good.
flowers and blossoms, just like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
What do they say?
um
To be loved is to be seen, to be known.
yes,
Yeah, to be
yes,
adored. Yeah. I
I
agree
love
with that
that.
like 100%. Yeah. And I also wanted to add that I think a lot of people in the gaming space and like streaming space, they kind of use they do use gaming as a sort of comfort, you know,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like an escape from the outside world. Just,
Yeah.
you're able to focus on like one thing, have your own like mini life on the
Mm-hmm.
internet versus like you're outside and kind of get away from your problems. So I definitely relate to that too because again, I'm a full-time double major student. I work a part-time job as a librarian assistant. So I totally get all the stresses and just wanting to come home, relax, get on your computer, play a couple of games with friends. Yeah, with some friends. So definitely I know that a lot of people take this streaming and gaming space very seriously in terms of their relaxation from the world and their problems. And something
Mm-hmm.
I do respect, because I do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. Like that's my biggest thing. So like
Yeah.
I completely hear you, and I'm so glad that you kind of hit the mark on that. Um,
Mhm.
and you're so booked and busy. Like everything you just said, like the fact that you were doing like all like the double major, like which I also like. I was gonna try and ask this like after we got into like what you do with events, but like how do you how do you balance how do you like how do you balance like specifically how do you balance this content creation, this
Yeah.
event tournament organization with your studies as a double major?
Yeah.
Like you're not just
Yeah.
majoring, you're double majoring. So
Yeah.
what is that
So,
like for you?
I'm actually a double major in nursing and librarian sciences. So those are
Wow.
very hefty majors.
Yeah.
And I do work part-time as a librarian assistant. I'm very
Awesome.
grateful where I could like literally pick up my schedule and my boss and my school is okay with it as well. So that's something that is really easy. I think the hardest thing about content creation and doing my tournaments is um, definitely understanding when you need breaks
Mm.
and just like the mental fortitude for me to put on these events because I work very hand in hand with like my participants, my staff and stuff. I'm
Yeah.
very involved in making sure that they have an enjoyable time.
Mhm.
When these events get made by myself and my staff, shout out Oh God events.
Yes.
I think it really does take a lot out of me in
Mhm.
terms of like my mental
Yeah.
because my social battery kind of just plummets because I'm talking to 120 plus people
Yeah.
every single event. And that's a lot of people to be
That is
talking to daily. Like,
that's a lot of people.
yeah. And when it comes to these events and just my overall content creation, my biggest thing is making sure that you're having fun at the end of the day, I always tell this to everyone, I wouldn't have an event if I didn't have you guys.
Yeah.
You know? And I always express my gratitude because one, they're taking the time out of their days, their weekends, their time overall just to talk in group chats, be there for like scrims, talk with their team captains, their teammates, have meetings with me and stuff like that. And that's
Mhm.
something I'm very grateful for. If that means that I'm stressed out for a couple months but to know that 120 plus people are going to be very happy just playing games that we love and plus we're like raising money for good causes that
Yeah.
those like months that I'm stressed out means so not, like it's so little, you know what I mean? Because I just need like maybe like a month to like be okay again, and that's what's worth it, you know.
Yeah.
I do think it's very challenging. I think one of the biggest things is I have an amazing support system.
Mm.
They definitely are the people that I run to at the end of the day about like, oh my
Yeah.
god, I'm so stressed out. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god, like I'm panicking. I don't know what to do. So definitely my best my boyfriend, Synthix, my best friend Mutiny, my best friend Ruby, a little bit Victoria. Oh, you know, like most of
I
them.
was gonna say, I
Charlie.
was like,
Yeah,
maybe like I know you're
yeah.
talking about.
Christian, Alyssa. Yeah, they're all really good rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's actually like that's one thing I really do believe in is the key to success in terms of being your own like entrepreneur, being your own person and content creator and just someone in a huge space is
Yeah.
the ability to have people that you could rely on, you know?
Yeah.
And it goes more than just like support, but I know these people, if they knew that I needed help, they would drop what they were doing just to come help me. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something I'm like forever grateful for. You know,
Yeah.
there's been moments where some things happen and I turn to these people and they came like saving me, you know? And I
Yeah.
think that's one thing that makes someone successful is the people who help you lift you up and be successful. They
Yeah.
help you become who you are, you know?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like little bits of their personality are like in me, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
that's something
No,
I'm very appreciative of. Oh, and my
I
mom. Yeah.
oh
Mom was my
no,
everything as well. Yeah.
I love that, and there's so much I want to talk about. I love that you said that though specifically because I think that, you know, at the beginning, where, you know, most people who are probably tuning in, know that
Yeah.
like, at the beginning, um, of Cope, like it was during, 4 years ago when there was less
Mhm.
information than there is now about what this industry is like. There was a lot
Yeah.
of, when you are stepping into the space at sort of a young age, it can be sort
Yeah.
of jarring, I think, to like,
Mhm.
I mean, and it can be jarring to parents. It can also be jarring to like other people
Yeah.
who don't game, you know what I'm saying? But like specifically that
Yeah.
emphasis on like that parent support, like you saying like your mom,
Yes. a
like
hundred
I did
percent.
not prompt you to say
Yeah.
that, but like you, like
Yeah.
just you
I
saying
wanted
that,
to
like
bring it in.
having someone who supports you in your life like that is so so
Yeah.
important. That's why I love that we're having this conversation, and you gave us like off the bat like an example of, you were like my support system, my rocks, like these people in
Mhm.
this space who I go to when I'm feeling, and
Yeah.
who help me and are giving to my success because they're, helping me as a person, and that's how I grow.
Yes.
Like this can't happen
Yeah.
if there aren't,
Yeah.
people who support you or show you that support. And I think it's, amazing that you hit on that, and talked about that. And
Yeah.
I have to tell you, just as like someone on the other side of this conversation right now, that like the way that you talked about having a couple stressful months to give people this just like feeling of just like immense joy, and just like, what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
sacrificing your like stress, what I'm saying, like that that reminded me, in the moments that I do that same sort of thing, and like you just like breathed life into me. Like I started getting emotional. Like you breathed life
You
into
get
me, because
me. You
I
get
I
me.
totally I totally hear where you're coming from, and I think it's like you remind me like why some of the things, the reasons that I do, what I do. Like when I was president of, Emerson Esports, which is the collegiate organization at
Mhm.
my school, like that was so taxing on me because there were so many people that I just was like, I'm gonna be really stressed out for the next like year. But if these people can be happy at the end of the day, like with all the things that we got going on,
Exactly.
it's worth it.
Yes.
And it's like, so that just like,
Exactly.
to everyone who's tuning in, like be inspired, because this is what this
No,
is.
actually.
Um, and so I want to get a little bit more, into your events, and like sort of, because you had talked about, blending that philanthropy work like with your career. Like, how did you how did you get involved? Because you said that you volunteered in like
Yes.
high school. How did that sort of start for you?
Mhm.
And then how did you sort of connect that to like the events portion? Like, what was that like for
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. So, back in like high school and college, I kind of always had this like mentality, and I definitely think how my mother raised me. Amazing person. Like she's literally my everything. But basically, I came with this mentality of always being grateful for what I have. At the end of the day, my parents. they have struggled, but they never showed me how much they were struggling.
Mm.
I'm very grateful for them always putting like a warm plate in front of me every single
Yeah.
day, giving me a house, giving me a bed, giving me immense amount of love.
Mhm.
And I come from a family who has like other family members from like third world countries, and I see what happens like over there, like in the Philippines. It's not the best place, but they make do with what they have. We My family is always giving back to them. We always send like money and like care packages towards them. And that kind of like started my whole ideology, not even ideology, but like my beliefs of always helping people who are in need just because of how well my life is.
Mhm.
If if I could do that, like if I could spend like a couple hours like a week just like helping others who are in need, then I'm gonna do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because not everybody is blessed with the same abilities that my parents were able to give me, and myself, like I'm very blessed to have a job. I go to school, I have amazing amount of friends. Not everybody has those opportunities or those resources to attain
Mhm.
those things,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I kind of always just wanted to give back. So in high school, I was like in green club, which is like we focused on making like garden boxes for my community and making like a fresh produce.
Yeah.
Fresh produce was something that's very hard to obtain, and believe it or not, like not many people realize how expensive it can be. Just every single day, just fresh produce. Like there's like little things that I feel like a lot of people in today's age they take for
Take for
granted. You know what
granted.
I mean?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
they think it's cheap because it's like, oh, like $1 per pound, but how that's for like one day. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Versus like for the what about the next days?
Mhm.
So I started Green Club, and then I was very heavily involved with Key Club. That was kind of like my main stuff into like volunteering.
Yeah.
So Key Club is by Kiwanis, and they do like a lot of volunteer work. So I work directly with like St. Jude's, the food banks around my city, food clothing drives, and just like like minor events, like fun events here and there. But it all came down to giving back to the community, big or
Yeah.
small. We were taking the time out every day. I was a high school student, and I was like
Yeah.
balancing out my schoolwork and volunteering, because at the end of the day, I was also having fun with it. I
Yeah.
was volunteering with my friends. There was like really cool events that were happening, and also too, like I mentioned this a lot of times in the podcast, but I was meeting new people and making
Mhm.
connections.
Yeah.
Even though they're like they have completely different lives than me, I was able to connect with them, and just they're still people too. You know what I mean? And I was able to hear their stories and then get along with them and like
Yeah.
meet them and like just have little moments, and those moments were so precious for me because that kept me going into believing that I'm doing something more than
Mhm.
just spending a couple hours. So
Yeah.
fast forward to like my starting my streaming career, I think one thing that I never realized was how powerful the tools and streaming is
Mm.
for charity campaigns. I didn't realize until maybe like a year into like my streaming career that there was resources like online, like Tiltify. Oh, Twitch even integrated something where you can link charities to. There's so many resources that
Yeah.
the streaming space offers where you can link your stream to raise money for so many causes. Even
Mhm.
just little things like word of mouth of being like, hey guys, like this charity needs help. Like,
Yeah.
or this is like, I'm a really big person on advocacy. There's
Yes.
many things in the world that's happening, and I think because in streaming, you're able to reach so many people from different parts of the world. It's
Yep.
so important just to even talk about it. Like little things on social media, like retweeting posts, liking posts, just
Yeah.
like you could see it on your feed. It goes such a long way in terms of understanding and comprehending what's happening in the world, because I do think when us gamers and like us streamers and stuff, because we kind of use content creation as a way to escape the world, we kind of tend to bubble that up and kind of forget what's happening in the
Forget
world.
the
So I
yeah.
think, yeah, so I think it is a good reminder to, just even if you see like a post and okay, like if it doesn't match your feed, who cares? Because at the end of the day, you're helping people who are in need. You're
Mhm.
getting you're getting people to be aware what's happening and
Yeah.
just being more. empathetic about those who aren't as fortunate as us. So I started finding and researching ways. I think that's one thing that I definitely would recommend people doing is making sure you do your research, you know.
Mm.
You want to know, like, my main thing is whoever I raise money for, I want to know every single little thing about them. I want to
Yeah.
talk directly to who's involved. I want to know what you do. I want to know where our money is going to. I want to know everything about you. Also, too, because I'm a really big believer in if I'm raising money for something, it's because I believe in them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I believe and support them with like my whole heart. And I want people to know that, you know, and I think because I am a face in, you know, our little field of doing like these charity works, it is very important that people understand that I support them, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I am the face of like these events, you know. At the end of the day, everybody's gonna go come back to me and
Yeah.
realize like, oh, this is something she understands and they trust me. And I'm very grateful that they trust me and
Yeah.
know that I do my due diligence in researching like every little part of these like organizations and these charities about what they do, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
the last thing I want to do is make sure that, or one thing I want to make sure that I do is make sure that everybody knows that they're supporting something that is going to do meaningful, like, acts with
Mm-hmm.
the money that they're donating, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was very grateful to have a lot of the charities. I think when people start these charity streams, they tend to go towards the bigger ones because they're the bigger charities, such as obviously every charity needs help and money, but there are these little charities that or like organization or nonprofits that do need the help. Like I remember I had a really good friend. He reached out to me because he was actually a staff for this nonprofit called Breaking Barriers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone has heard it, but Breaking
Yeah.
Barriers is a nonprofit who raises money for those who have disabilities.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think anyone has heard about it, but we raised like over $500 for it. But I
Awesome.
also raised so much money for like the Maui relief program when Maui
Mm-hmm.
was having wildfires, or the one I actually worked with you, the Animal Humane Society, you know,
Yes.
and Project Hope, Power Up for Mental Health, or
Mm-hmm.
Project Hope, Hope for Gaza, what's happening in Gaza right now. So there's like very like I don't only showcase bigger organizations, but I also stream the little ones because they also matter too, you
Of
know?
course.
And I feel like they kind of fly off the radar because there's not that much attention on them, but they still
Mm-hmm.
do need help. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's one thing that we can understand is that yeah, there's like really big nonprofits, but we need to take a step back and realize like there's other nonprofits who are just doing equally as good hard work and working so hard, but you know they're just they're still babies like off the ground. We all start somewhere, you know. I started as a baby streamer, you know,
Yeah.
so I definitely love to give back to those who are like kind of starting off, and
Yeah.
and also I know the power that I have to
Mm.
cultivate and like show people like, hey, we need to help these people, and I
Yeah.
want to do that for these people. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. No, I love that, and I think sometimes I love like what you said about we sort of come to gaming, a lot of us, to escape the
Yeah.
world, right? But at the same time, the world is still moving around us, and there still are things going on that we should be
Yeah.
aware of. And I love that you said that this is a way that you can sort of connect that.
Yeah.
And I think the idea of when there is something going on in the world at this time, like focusing an event on raising money for what's going on. Like, I mean, the hurricane that just happened, right? Like that was like, what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like that was, devastating to
Devastating.
witness, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so it's like you can, spend your attention doing an event to raise money for that. And it's like, and then you
Yeah.
can, the next one can focus on something else. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
there's so many,
Exactly.
there's so many different avenues that you can take when it comes to, you know, picking a charity and at the time of what's going on in the world, because they
Mhm.
all need money all the time. Like and like
Yeah.
if it was realistic
That's
to give all the
transparent.
money, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like if it was realistic to give all the money all the time,
100%.
that's what we do. But I also
Yeah.
think like that you've I've gathered a sense of authenticity from you this entire time, and it's like the idea of like
Okay.
knowing where your money is going, like being fully invested in the charity and the nonprofit and like telling people that. So it's like
Mhm.
they know exactly where the, like that's so important as like because
Yeah.
you talked about, you do have an audience, you have a presence, like people are looking,
Yeah.
people are listening to what you're saying. And so it's like making sure that you are providing the not only like the correct information, but like all the information that you can, I think is
Yeah.
like it builds that trust that it's like you
Yeah.
don't intentionally are like, I gotta get my audience to trust me, but you're just like you do that
Yeah.
based on the way like how authentic you are. I think that's so important
Mhm.
in this space specifically that we see saturated by people who will just sort of say anything and just
Yeah.
sort of like, set themselves up to like, you know, potentially
Yeah.
run a charity stream where
Exactly.
they don't know all the information or anything
Yeah.
like that. And it's like, so I so appreciate that from you and seeing and hearing you talk about that. And I kind of want to ask a bit more about these events and your,
Mhm.
being a TO. Like, what are some of the skills that you believe lend itself to what you do? Like, and whether that's like something like time management, whether that's like communication, like what is that? What are the skills that you feel like maybe you went into this with and like
Mhm.
built on or like are sort of
Yeah.
figuring out as you do this?
Yeah, so I definitely think being a tournament organizer for various events and also just being kind of like the lead person, I definitely think my hard skills that I gained from being like from what I learned from high school and even like
Mm-hmm.
soft skills that my mom has taught me, like little things such as communication, time
Yeah.
management, learning how to work these like how to work a Google Doc, or Google Forms, Google Sheets,
Yeah.
like the little like coding into all that and stuff, like those are definitely hard skills that are really really useful in this field. Also too, like fun things like, oh, graphics designing and stuff.
Mm.
How do you make one? That's one thing I do think is probably one of my, I wouldn't say best assets, but something I'm very passionate about because one thing that I really do is when they see these graphics on social media, like on Twitter or something, that is the one thing that they're gonna see first. Not a lot of people read your whole text. They're gonna see just a picture, like, everybody, let's be so real, we're not going to read it, like, so it's so crucial just to have all the information on one graphic,
Yeah.
because that's what catches someone's eye,
Mhm.
because I could put all the information down and like whatnot, but will they read it? More likely not. They'll
Mhm.
see the graphic itself. And
Yeah.
I think that's something that some people kind of take for or don't understand is how important, my graphics, they're kind of, I make them on Canva, but I still put like a very
Yeah.
much effort on them. Canva's like an amazing tool for a lot of people who just want to like do like these little graphics, because I will say I have gotten more better responses because of a graphic than just a post. It's eye catching, it's straightforward, it says everything like full detail.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
little things like time management, that is
Mhm.
um probably the biggest thing too, is you kind of have to work your way around, hey, I'm going to post this at this time, does that give me ample enough time to have a right amount of signups? Oh, does this give me time for my editors to produce their videos? Does
Mhm.
this give my illustrators enough time to draw pictures for my event? Does this give me enough time to even feel remotely prepared for these events? And definitely, like, I did have some troubles, like full transparency. It is not easy, I will say
Mhm.
that. I have been very blessed to have multiple individuals in the field as well, who do also host events. Like my best friend Unity, she also does amazing events. And within my first Sunshine Cup, so Sunshine Cup is probably my most notable event, and my biggest event so far. Sunshine Cup, we for the first one, it has 16 teams and over 126 people involved,
Wow.
which is, yeah, and that's just players. That doesn't
Yeah.
even include the staff. So,
Crazy.
and for staff, I'm working with observers who kind of are the eyes of the whole event. So they're the people that are controlling what you guys see when we stream. We have the casters who are the voices of the whole event. They're the hosts. They're the people who talk and kind of explain to you what's happening during these like show matches. And then me, I'm working behind the scenes on like the OBS, so which is our like broadcasting. So I'm also like communicating with everybody behind the scenes, my staff, like, hey, we're gonna have like 10-minute ad time, read this, read that, and making sure everybody's giving breaks. And then also I'm communicating with my staff as well, who's making sure that their jobs are getting done and they're working well with the teams. And I think I was very grateful to have her by my side because she literally taught me everything I knew, you know? And I was very, very lucky because we also have similar work ethics in
Mm.
terms of how we approach things, how we go about talking to people.
Yeah.
I'm very much a good cop. She's very much my bad cop in most situations. And I
Love.
think that goes for like all my friends as well. When I need them, I'm
Yeah.
very the upbeat, happy person, like, hey, I'm very understanding, but
Yeah.
they're like, hey, we're understanding, but you can't do that stuff. You know what I mean? And I think it's
Yeah.
a very good balance that I have that also in my staff members. I
Mm.
have like amount of good cop and bad cops. And I think that works well in this setting because I could lay down the line as well when I need
Yeah.
to. But I think because people see me as this very sunshine, happy person, uh, they tend to take it for granted. So when I
Yeah.
have someone that balances it out, it helps me a lot. And I think one thing that helps me a lot with in terms of time management and communication is one thing for sure is a checklist. Like I have so many Google Docs of like, okay, when I like what to do during when I start a tournament. I literally go through a checklist and make sure everything is done. Obviously, there's gonna be some things where it's different to like every tournament I do or every
Yeah.
event. Like specifically, Sunshine Cup, 16 teams. My next one, which is my first one, oh God, Invitationals, 8 teams. Or even like the one that's happening right now for Filipino American History Month. I reached out to various Filipino creators. I made a post on social media about, hey, if you're a Filipino American creator, reach out to me. I will want
Yeah.
to highlight you. I want to know. I want you because you are a representation of a Filipino American,
Yeah.
and I want people to understand that we're valued in this space and our
Mhm.
history is amazing. Like we were able to come to America and be this type of person. Like my parents came to America to give me a better life,
Yeah.
and I want to give back because their history is important.
Mhm.
Um, so definitely communication is probably one of the biggest things. The fact that like in my field of work I'm talking to so many people every day while still getting work done, that's one thing for sure. That's something that my mom has also taught me, just to make sure that I'm always communicating with people. Like also the ability to communicate your words and make sure that other people understand and comprehend what you're saying. That
Mhm.
ability in itself is so important. I also believe that um, empathy is really
Mm.
important. I
Yeah.
think that's something that not a lot of people understand that goes into this field of work is
Yeah.
being understanding and empathetic towards other people's situations.
Yes.
I always tell people like, oh, if you have any questions or if you need any help or if you have any concerns, like let me know. I will cater to you. And in my events, I always do cater for people. Like I understand like life happens. That is just something that's like what's it called? That's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
Life is unexpected. We don't really know what's gonna happen, and I definitely try my best to work around the situations because I can't blame them. They're not at fault. Like they didn't expect it to happen.
Yeah.
So like within my tournaments, I one thing that I do is I don't really do seeding or
Mhm.
like brackets. I kind of do it based on team availability
Yeah.
because again at the end of the day they're giving away their time for me.
Mhm.
I'm going to try my best to make sure that everybody is involved, like the main roster, they're able to be there.
Yeah.
Like I'm very grateful we have our subs and they're there to take their place,
Mhm.
but these main rosters, they've been working really hard, and like they can't help if like something at home happened,
Yeah.
or let's say someone got sick and they weren't here for like the charity stream. That's okay,
Yeah.
and it's just little things where I feel like a good leader um has to be
Oh,
empathetic and
absolutely.
understanding of people. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I want to like that's like put that on a sign and put it in big lights because that is like
Yeah.
so that it's so key because life does happen and it's like
Yeah.
you I would hope that like other like other leaders you're phenomenal but like that it's like you don't why would you want to just like I think it's the assumption that like some people who don't possess that sort of empathy it's
Yeah.
like what the fact that they have to miss because of said circumstance that just popped up in their life like they
Yeah.
don't want to have to like they don't want to have to miss like an event or
Yes,
something like
exactly.
they're not
Yeah.
missing it to try and hurt you or to
With
try and you know what I'm
malicious
saying with malicious
intentions.
intent
Yeah.
right there's
Yeah.
no sometimes
Exactly.
life just happens and so I think you speaking to that and the idea of leaders having
Yeah.
empathy like that is huge that is a
Yeah.
huge realization that people have to come to and it's like so I absolutely like I think that's so beautiful and so real to talk about because it's like especially when you're running events like that's bound to happen like
Yeah.
and the fact that like
100%.
you understand that you anticipate that that might be the case and so
Yeah.
the way that you run your events and your tournaments like you allocate for the fact that that could happen and
Mhm.
I think that's
100%.
an incredible thing that you are one step ahead like that even goes into some of the skills that
Mhm.
I think that you were talking about that I think is also important is just like being able to anticipate like that some things might change and
Yeah.
not look the way that
100%.
they originally
Yeah.
do and so I do want to ask before I even get into the hot seat like if you have a favorite event that you've done um
Oh, yes.
and like
Honestly,
if you have one
oh,
that's
yeah,
been
yeah.
like the trickiest too if you have like
Yes.
do
So
tell.
I definitely do think by far my favorite event is Sunshine Cup. So again, just a reiteration of what Sunshine Cup is. So this Sunshine Cup was also my first ever event, and um
Oh my
yeah, it's
goodness.
it's it's my baby. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like my pride and joy. But the reason why it was my favorite is because it's my biggest event as
Mm.
and even as my first event, I went
Wow.
into it blindly. Yeah. Um and also too I met my best friend Mutiny there as well. She was the one that helped me and
Awesome.
helped me teach all these
Yeah.
skills and stuff too. So Sunshine Cup 1, it all took place even with the planning and the tournament itself. It took 1 month and a half to all plan and stuff.
Wow.
And during that time, she was able to be my best friend, and I think that's just like in itself beautiful
Yeah.
because, I made like a lifelong best friend there.
Yeah.
But also because it is my baby, my biggest event, it included 16 team captains, 126
Oh
players,
my goodness.
probably like 30 staff members, observers, casters. And
Insane.
then that's when I worked directly with, so we raised money for Project Hope, Power for Mental Health, which they're like a super, super wonderful organization. I work directly with Evan, who is their creative director and like, who helps other streamers with that. But the reason why it was so important was because during this time, so one thing that I do special with all my events is I try to choose team captains who I believe are um, very specific and they have their content catered towards or like at least like kind of like talking about it to their platform. So with
Mm-hmm.
Project Hope Power for Mental Health, I was specifically looking for creators who talked about their mental health,
Mental
whether
health.
it's their
Yeah.
own, yeah, whether it's their personal like journeys with their mental health or even like education. That was just something that's so important to me because
Yeah.
one thing that I really love doing is finding these captains who are special, like
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day they're raising money, and I want them to know that we're raising money for something that you believe in as well.
Yeah.
Same, like all circle goes around, and also they're the eyes and ears for their community. You
Mhm.
know, I'm the bigger
Exactly.
picture, but I don't know their community, and I want them
Mhm.
to feel personal to them. So
Yeah.
I was able to get 16 teen captains who talk about their like mental health and all that, and
Awesome.
um, I would Sunshine Cup. It wasn't perfect, you know, but I think at the end of the day, like I think that's bound to happen as your first
Yeah.
event. You know, every time you put in an event, there's always rooms for improvement, you know, and
Mhm.
that's when you continue to do these events and you do realize you go back and reflect with your staff members. I try
Yeah.
to have like meetings after like every day of like, okay, hey, what can we do better? What happened? What was good? How did you feel? You
Yeah,
know,
of course.
because I do think that's very important as a TO as well is
Mhm.
getting these feedback and adjusting like as soon as possible when you could figure out a solution for these issues.
Yeah.
And then also too, like Sunshine Cup was it made me feel like I had a like okay, as silly as it is, it made me feel like I have a purpose, you know?
Yeah.
I did like solo streams where I like raise charity and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
for Sunshine Cup we were able to raise over $1,000
Wow.
within 2 weeks and stuff. And
Incredible.
that was like my stamp on the field about who I am. I host these events, you know,
Yeah.
and the fact that I didn't really have much of a presence as an event organizer, but I was able to still have over 250 people sign up for an event. They were very patient and kind to me and understanding like this is my first event.
Yeah.
And also too, I met so many good friends, so many connections. Like my casters,
Yes.
observers, like I don't even like have to make a post online anymore, but I still do because I want to meet new people. But I could go back to them and DM, be like, "Hey, are you interested in like
Yeah.
casting?" And I do believe that. I'm very grateful for them because, especially in that space of like casting and observing, there's not many opportunities that
Oh,
they
yeah.
can get that are on the smaller scale. You know,
Mhm.
obviously at the end of the day they want to maybe go to VCT or like, you
Yeah.
know, like one of those big events. But I think one thing that I do provide is opportunity, you
Ugh,
know,
love.
for
Yep.
a lot of these players, they get opportunity to, I think it's really special because they get to see themselves on my broadcast and have a caster like, oh my God, with the clutch, you know,
Yeah.
that's just, it just warms my heart knowing that they could go back to the VOD and they're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, they're talking about me. Like, it's just like that little special moment. Like, I go back in my clips and I see all my players clipping it and their
Yeah.
friends. And that's very special to me, you know, because I provide opportunity, I provide a spotlight, you know. Not everybody in my thing is like pro. No one's a really pro player, you know. These are like
Yeah.
gamers and stuff.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're able to feel like a pro player is like
Yep.
so amazing. And like the spotlight is on them and they get like their little flowers. That means more to me than anything else. And my casters are able to have these on like their highlight reels. My observers are able to look back their look like, oh my God, I was able to capture all that, you know?
Yeah.
And they could practice these like
Yeah.
skills and stuff. And like I never asked for anyone to be perfect. You know, I
Yeah.
know like we're all like amateurs in this space, but I even offer like many opportunities where they could come practice. Like
Yeah.
I like specifically for my upcoming one, Oh God Invitationals is gonna be at on November 2022 to the 20 or no wait is it 22 to 24th. Yeah. Basically I have like a bunch of new observers and casters and
Awesome.
I tell them like you're totally fine if you're new. Like I have so many of my staff members who are willing to help you. I'm willing to stay up with you and like give you affirmations and
Mhm.
like give you critique and give you like constructive criticism on how you can
Yeah.
improve and stuff. Because my main thing is I want you to be comfortable. Because when people are
Yes.
comfortable, they're confident. You
Yes.
know, you don't have to
Absolutely.
be perfect. You just have to do what you feel is right. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just knowing that I'm able to provide opportunities for people just to even try. And it's, you know, I also think about it as oh, my event was their first one, and I think,
Yeah,
oh, it's like a
yeah,
little special. And
yeah.
then every single event that I make, so Sunshine Cup 1, Sunshine Cup 2 was a couple months ago, where we raised money for Project Hope for Gaza, so what's happening in Palestine. We were able to raise $2,000 for that, which is by
Wow.
far my most raised money. Yeah,
Look at
and
you.
I
That's
know.
awesome.
And then I was able to expand my events, because I do want people to understand that I'm not just a tournament girl. I'm an events girl.
Yes.
I did this month where we're highlighting Filipino American creators for Filipino American History Month, and we're raising money for my PAMSA, which is the Asian Pacific American Medical Student Association. I
Yes.
want people to know that, like, we're not just tournaments. It's
Tournaments. Yeah.
also like little things. And then I also created like my Oh God events server and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Like, and there's just many people there. And like, I do take a lot of the time to like understand like what people want to raise money for. Like in the
Yeah.
Discord server, my mods, they made like, oh, what are you most interested in? Mental health, like animals, or like nature stuff, like little things like that. Like
Mhm.
that all goes into play in
Yeah.
what I do for you guys, because I
Yeah.
want you guys to know that I'm listening to you guys. I
Mhm.
want to do what you guys I want to raise money for what you guys want, because I don't have all the money. You guys have also
Yeah.
all the time and what you guys want to, like, the funds to donate. I want
Mhm.
to make sure that, because there's not many opportunities either where people do these charity streams.
Yeah.
So if I could provide spaces where people can feel safe in donating, then I'm gonna
Mhm.
do that for you. So,
Yeah.
those are my favorite events. And
Absolutely.
I think I did miss one question, but I think hardest
Mm.
my hardest event that I did work on was my Dragon Cup. So Dragon Cup was hosted in Asian American Pacific Islander Native Hawaiian month. And the reason why it was the hardest was because I also had a co-host. So that
Mm.
was my first time ever fully collabing in an
Yeah.
event. And I think in this space, he was a really good friend of mine at first, or not at first, but in general, right? So that's how we first started. We became friends through the streaming space and the gaming space, and then he was a player and a team captain for my Sunshine Cup. But I definitely think one of the hardest workarounds was understanding that not everybody has the same work ethic as I do in
Mhm.
terms of how things are getting done. And that was
Yep.
definitely like a power struggle. It was his first event, so I kind of took the lead in terms of, hey, these are things that need to be done. Obviously, it's really important to me that I get his involvement and his voice like said
Mhm.
to me, but also just the workaround of understanding that um how things need to be done, but someone wants it done a certain way.
Yeah.
Was very kind of is very hard to do, because I know what I'm doing, but I was also teaching him how to do
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And that was one of the hardest things. Like, obviously, amazing event for Dragon Cup. We highlighted Asian American creators and stuff. That went amazing, and we had like wonderful sponsors. We had a wonderful turnout.
Yeah.
More on the small, or quote unquote smaller scale events. We had eight
Yeah.
teams, so 18 captains. But yeah, definitely, it was just hard to work around someone's thought process,
Yeah.
and also combining mine, because you at the end of the day, you're not gonna get along with everybody, but you do have to do your part in being understanding of
Yeah.
their vision and what they want. So I had to just
Absolutely.
like work on a
Yeah.
few things just to make sure that he knew I valued him.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I think that's, I mean, that's one of the biggest things about collaboration, I think, is like
yeah,
learning how to work with someone else like that when you have your own, when you have a completely different work ethic in the way that
yeah,
you run things, and
yeah,
being open to sort of figuring out what that looks like between,
yeah,
you and whoever you're
exactly.
collaborating with. And I want to go back to like, when you talked about, working with your best friend and like that sort of be, you actually becoming like really close, like through that, I think
Yeah,
sometimes that's that's not like sometimes there's literally a fly sometimes you can't work. Sometimes you like you and your best friend,
Yeah.
like you don't work well together, but it's
You
like if
mesh.
you
Yeah.
actually do have a friend that you can work well with, like those sorts of things that you can create
Yeah.
and like the power you feel when you're able to do that is beautiful. So
Yeah.
I wanted to actually like
Exactly.
I wanted to mention that just like, after you had said like that idea of collaboration. Um and so the last thing that I want to ask you is my little hot seat section. So crazy question coming at you, and that's whether or not you think pineapple belongs on pizza.
I am a pineapple on pizza enjoyer. I
Okay.
will say that. Yes, I do. I don't know, just something about that like sweetness.
With
It
the yeah,
just
I hear
it's
you.
so good. It's so good.
Is that like your go-to pizza, or is that just like something
Um,
you'll eat it if it's like what I'm saying, like you're like,
oh,
tonight
I
I'm craving
definitely think
this.
it's I definitely think it's like my top two go-to pizzas for
Okay,
sure.
heard. Okay,
Yeah.
what's number
Yes.
one?
I'm very much like a combination enjoyer. Like I like a little
Okay.
bit of everything.
Love.
Yeah, yeah,
Love. I don't
yeah.
know if you ever heard of like girl dinner, but like I love a good girl dinner because
Yes, yes.
I want a little bit of everything all the time.
Yeah,
So I hear
exactly,
you.
exact girl dinner.
Literally. Okay, so if you were deserted on an island, you can only bring three things. They can literally be anything. Like I would
Um,
probably bring this entire pack of gum and be so happy. That's gonna be all three of my things. But what would you bring?
what would I bring? I guess definitely a water purification system.
Oh,
Something
love.
where
Love.
yeah, well, I'm thinking a little more practical in this sense,
Cool.
but
Cool. I love
definitely
it.
like a water
Yes.
purification system so I could just have like clean drinking water because the minute you don't have water, that's when you're gonna be struggling.
There you go.
Probably like a multi-tool, so something where I could like be cutting stuff up
Okay,
for like
yes.
my shelter. I'm thinking about that.
Yes.
I think realistically, maybe a solar lantern or something,
Okay.
just provide a little
No,
light. I'm a
I love
little more
it.
on the realistic side.
No, I like
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I hear all different things, so I appreciate all answers, and I think those were very great practical items to bring. My next question, if you
If I could
could,
bring like an extra one,
yeah,
my
do it.
plushie,
Okay, love.
my like
Perfect.
safety plushie. Yeah,
Perfect. Me, I would bring my queen back there, bring Ruby with
yeah,
me. No, I hear you.
yes.
The next question, if you could find a way to turn any game into an esport, what would it be? Like I would do Animal Crossing.
Ooh,
Like competitive Animal Crossing, sign me
ooh.
up. Sign me up.
Actually, I feel that. I was gonna say Stardew Valley
Love.
because
Perfect.
people go so crazy
They
over
do.
Stardew
They
Valley.
do.
And
Yes.
did you know there's speed runs?
Are they really?
Did you know that? Yes, there's speed
I
runs.
love that.
Yes, girl.
I
Yeah.
love. Okay.
Stardew Valley is like my comfort game,
Mm-hmm.
so if I could support that,
Yes.
yo, Stardew Valley tournament when?
Y'all, you heard it here first. You heard it here first. It is happening. My next question. Are you allergic to fruit?
No, no,
Okay,
no.
so if you could be a
Just
fruit.
I'm just not a blueberry enjoyer.
Okay, valid. Well, I love blueberries, but I hear that I absolutely respect
I
everyone's
just
opinions.
I like blueberries, but I just think I don't really like the surprise and it's either sweet or sour, you know? And
That's
that drives me, you know?
that I totally hear you. But what fruit would you be and why if you could be one?
Let me see. Oh, that's kind of hard. What would you say? What would you
Oh my
say?
god, no one's ever
Oh,
asked me
really?
this. No one's ever
Wait,
asked me.
really?
No one's ever asked me this
Oh my
before.
God, yes. I want to know
Um,
your thoughts.
I feel like, ooh, this is crazy. Wow, the
It's
tables have
hard,
really
right?
turned.
It's hard.
Um,
Oh
Gosh.
my
Oh, I feel
God.
like honestly, I feel like I would be a grape, and I say that because
Mm,
I, I'm good on my own. Like like
yeah,
I'm independent. If there's one of me that's like so cool, like
yeah,
girl boss, right? But it's like
yeah.
you don't ever really just want like one grape, right? Like when you are together,
Mm,
like when I am in like a group environment with people, like oh
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I am even better
yeah.
than I am alone because one grape doesn't
Mm,
it's like cool. It's like great, like
yeah,
awesome. Like one grape,
yeah.
I'm still looking for that like whole. And so that's why like group projects,
Yes,
collaborative projects, like count me. Like, will I take the lead? Yes. Like I will be the leader, but
yes,
but we are a collective. Like we are a group.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's like
Yeah,
I lend myself to that group, even if I do feel that
yeah.
individual sense, that individuality of being like a leader.
Mhm,
I'd be a
mhm.
grape.
Okay, Okay, I definitely think I would probably be a mango. So like a
Ooh,
little soft and easygoing on the
okay.
outside, but
Yeah.
in the deep roots of it, I'm like firm. I'm not sugar.
Yes.
I'm a little bit stubborn. I'm gonna be so real, but
Ooh, I
you
get
know,
you. Mm, I get
I
you.
do want everybody like get a little piece of me. You could like
Yeah.
cut me up
Yes.
or cut the fruit in half.
Love. Obsessed.
I caught myself there.
So good. No, you're so good. No, I hear you. I love that. You really you
Yeah.
went in on that and I love it. And then my last question, favorite
Mhm.
video game and then your favorite esport. And they can be two different things, they can be the same
Ooh,
thing. I mean,
ooh, okay.
you did talk about Stardew Valley, but like I don't want to assume that's your favorite
Yeah,
video game.
I'll say something else. Okay, I definitely do think. Okay, I'm gonna give you two though.
Do it.
Okay, okay. So favorite video game, specifically because of the memories that I have made on it and how it made me the person who I am.
Okay.
As much as I love and hate the game, it's got to be Valorant.
I hear you.
I think I have made so many connections through Valorant,
Yeah.
and the fact that I'm able to play it casually while also competitively is very special
Love.
to me as well.
Yes.
Even though I'm not a competitive person like at all,
Yeah.
but I definitely believe in my space. I know a
Mhm.
lot more Valorant streamers, and also too because of my events have been predominantly Valorant focused. It does have like a little soft spot in my space, and that's how I made so many of my community members and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So definitely a soft
Love.
spot. My second favorite game though, probably of all time, is Raft.
Ooh,
I don't know
okay.
if you've heard about
I've
it,
heard of it, but I've
but
never
Raft
played it.
is yes. So Raft is like a little mini survival game. They made it into co-op so you can play with your friends. But
Love.
you're starting off in this little raft and you collect resources from the ocean. So you're also doing your part in cleaning the ocean.
Yes.
And then you're kind of like starting off from like a new age. So
Mhm.
you make things out of plastic. So you can make like a purification system. You make like smelters to make like metal, and you could
Yes.
get ores
Love.
to get better tools. And I kind of
Yes.
love that
Resourceful.
aspect of like survival. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I definitely think one of my favorite esports, I don't watch very much, but I am a big fan of just Valorant esports in general. I do
Yeah.
love like the little
Love.
rivalry and
Of
like
course.
my my boyfriend is like a huge Hundred Thieves fan, so I'm a Hundred Thieves fan,
I
by choice.
I totally that space because I've
Yeah,
been pulled into this space a little bit and my
yeah,
entire anytime they're playing I literally see I've seen your boyfriend's
yeah,
tweets like my friends tweet like we have mutual friends that tweet about 100
yeah,
thieves like yes I
yeah.
hear you
You get it.
I
I
absolutely
plan on
do
going to Masters Toronto, so that'll be pretty exciting.
yes
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not very much into like esports, but I also do want to give a shout out to League of Legends esports, just because
yeah
League was also one of my first games that I ever played in beta. So it's just
oh
that
my
little soft spot
gosh
for like Faker and like Kyria and all that. So
yeah
yeah,
absolutely no
definitely
I
Riot
love
Games
that
has been right.
I completely hear you. You killed this hot seat. That was phenomenal answers. Just
Thank
one
you,
after
thank
the
you.
other. Okay, so you've already kind of like talked about some
Yes.
upcoming events, but little moment, where can people find you on socials? Like what do you have coming up?
Yes.
Like do blast it, promo it right now.
Okay, so again, Kate, Ohgawdkate. You can find me on all socials, whether it's Twitter at Ohgawdkate, Twitch Ohgawdkate, Instagram Ohgawdkate, TikTok Ohgawdkate. Everything is Ohgawdkate,
Oh God,
basically. Just
Kate.
search me up. You'll be there.
Yes.
Ohgawdkate. My upcoming event, or let's talk about currently. So currently,
Do
right
it.
now, it's Filipino American History Month, and you could check out all like my other streamers who are also raising money, but yeah, so we're highlighting them. I'm also gonna be streaming this week just to do we're gonna be talking about like my Filipino like upbringing, maybe some like superstitions, just something where it makes me feel that is very pertinent to
Yeah.
being a Filipino American.
Yes.
I'm also gonna be playing games with the community, so if you do want to join, my next upcoming event and my first one is gonna be my Oh God Invitationals, which is gonna be from November 22nd to the 24th. we are raising money for Project Hope. Not only um, Hurricane Helene, but also Hurricane Milton. So that's something that's very current to the world and something I did want to give back to, because there are many of my players and my friends who got affected by these hurricanes, and I do want to give back. And Project Hope does an amazing job in their relief program and their responses and just helping people overall in need. And my next event that is coming in January is gonna be my Lunar New Year tournament,
Ooh.
highlighting Asian American creators. I'm also gonna be raising money for a PAMSA, and that's probably gonna take place around January 17th to the 19th. So the super amazing cause to APMs that I work directly with as well, and their Asian Pacific American Medical Student Association. So very like-minded like myself, because I am a med student. They have a lot of goals that are very, very similar to mine, and also too, they're sponsoring the event, giving away some Valorant gift cards if you guys are interested.
Yes.
And then I do have another event, not really planned, but it's like still tentative, but Sunshine Cup
Okay.
3. So
Yes.
I think that one, yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
These
So
are all
those are
awesome.
just, yeah.
Yes.
But
Well, Kate, thank you so much for joining me.
I
Like,
know.
this has been so fun, y'all. You heard Oh God, Kate, literally like everywhere on every platform. There's so many amazing events and tournaments and charities coming up. So please make sure to tune into all of that and support these wonderful causes, as well as Kate. And then make sure to follow at CopeGG on Twitter and YouTube, because we have more podcast content coming, and then some other content and things in the works that you should stay tuned for. So thank you so much again for joining me, Kate, and I will see everyone in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.